Welcome to night 7 of the Fallout Bar. I am taking over from Dolby, who's having a night in Nottingham, and I am joined by Tam McFarlane. Tam, how are you on this fine Thursday evening?
I'm all right, mate. Like we were just saying this just before we came on, weren't we? It's been a while since me and you have done one of these. I'm usually the every week one most of the time during this, but I've been away for a few weeks because of a certain internet provider not sorting out the internet in time. So yeah, it's good. It's good to be back, and it's good to see your face on here as well.
Yeah, it has been a while. I'm obviously known for being on a Monday night, but Thursday night not so much because it's normally a Dobbs show. However, as we have seen from being in the online darts WhatsApp chat, the Dobb has had probably one too many tonight, so it's definitely not good that he's on a looking
Just
at
maybe one.
Anyway,
The highlight being him calling Dolby as being in trouble as he went 3-0 up in the first game.
I wasn't going to pinpoint all his errors.
I'm calling him out. He's not here.
Anyway, good evening to everyone who has joined us. Good evening. I'll pop up a few names from Tommy, from Zane, who's made a very good point already about next week. We will come on to that very, very shortly. Matthew is also in. Mallet is in and made a very, very good point as well, which we will talk about very, very shortly as well. But we are talking about night 7 darts in Nottingham, and we are reviewing a night's worth of action, of quarter-final action that I've got a feeling we might be seeing very soon. Damn.
Yeah, no, it's weird the way things work at times, isn't it? Nice, though, isn't it? A little quick chance for revenge straight away again. But yeah, it was. I thought tonight was a really good night, so I'm quite happy with it. To be honest, it was quite enjoyable tonight.
Yeah, I thought it was a very good night of darts. We've seen. We spoke about it on Monday, and before we go into the game, we spoke about it on Monday about last week having a huge drop, and I think it was the lowest average for a couple of years, and that average was around 93. To pick back up this year, the nightly average to 96.25, which just looking is probably around just above average of where we've been for the year. We've had a couple of 97 nights, but generally, I think very, very good nights, a lot of 180s, ton plus checkouts. I was trying to keep notes of them and then just stave up, I think, because they were relentless, especially from a certain player, which we'll allude to in a bit. But generally, before we down to the end, I thought it was a good night of Premier League action.
Yeah, I did as well. I thought it was really good. It's really enjoyable. It's one of those. It started off probably a little bit slowly in that first game for the first couple of legs, and you were thinking, we're getting last week all over again. Like you say, sort of alluded to the averages. I think Nathan threw the lowest ever Premier League average last week, and he have 75 points something. So he's kicked off in the same manner the first couple of legs, and you kind of thought, here we go again. But then that turned into an absolute great game, and the night kind of went on from there.
Yeah, so starting with the opening day of the night, we had two of the young guns of the competition in Dimitri Vandenberg and Nathan Aspinall, and it was Dimitri Vandenberg who come through this one with a 6-4 win over Nathan Aspinall. For me, it was quite a strange opening affair in the sense of Nathan Aspinall seemed to have a shot. It seemed to be the way that he had a shot every leg, but it was either a 1-2-8, a 1-4-4, actually probably numerous 1-2-8s, and the amount of times you put in the two treble 18s and then the double 10 just went a little array. But it seems like the power store and the Dimmy early on was what was giving him the advantage.
Yeah, exactly that. Nathan didn't score particularly well until probably the later stages of this game, but he seemed to get a chance every leg, like you say, and there were 3 1-2-8s. I counted it up before going on. 3 1-2-8s where he had 2 darts at double 10 and he had 1 dart at the bullseye. He then had the 130 that he missed double 5 outside on, and then also the 144 that he missed double 12 outside on. So 5 big shots, but I think every time he had that, he didn't take it out, and Dimmy came back and took out the double that he was sort of left on because he was kind of so far ahead in the leg. He was just getting the pressure was on those shots every time from Nathan. So to keep giving himself chances was impressive, but he kept missing them, and that's what the difference was really in this game. It was Dimmy scoring, and just the fact that when it came down to those big shots, he just didn't take them.
Just in a comment, I'm going to pop it up on the screen. Tam, I'm not even going to defend myself here. I know you'll defend this front. That's right.
No, I've still never got over your shirt choices, to be honest. But the one advantage is we can always pick you out, so that's all we need. As long as we can see you in the background.
I'm always spotted. Always spotted. Anyway, back to the game. Yeah, as we mentioned, the opportunities that Nathan had. Lloyd says the 1-8s. I think there was a 1-4-4 where he's just outside on double 12. However, the finish that we are going to talk about is Dimmy's, and what a way it was to finish on 1-2-6. Because Aspinall was, I don't want to put him in this category, but Aspinall, we talked about wading.
Yeah.
Aspinall was doing an asp, it seemed. He was battling his way to that last leg, and then normally, because he's fought and he's got that momentum, it seemed like it was going to then go that way. But Dimmy, what a finish. And want to get your opinion as well on the pace of his thrower then tonight, because I thought it was at a very, very good pace for Dimmy.
Yeah, he's such a better player when he plays at this pace, isn't he? Like, just forget about all the messing around and trying to slow things down. When he throws quickly, it's still smooth. It's not like it's not really rapid, but it's just smooth, and it just works so well for him. And yeah, you just didn't fancy it. As soon as the treble 19 went in the second dart, you just thought this bullseye's going 100%. And I think it had to, because I fancied Nathan was taking out 90, that he was just starting to score a little better there as well. He gets it back to 5-all, even though Dimmy would have had the throw. You'd think he's in bother here after being 5-2 up, and if he's back to 5 apiece, you think I fancy Nathan to go on and win it. But yeah, really, really cool under pressure on the 1-2-6, and just gave himself that chance to just play really good darts rather than thinking about it too much.
Comment there around Dimmy's pace being very fast. I've just alluded to it as yourself as. But do you think Dimmy's pace tonight is his pace? Do you think that's him speed him up? What do you think Dimmy's natural game is? Because right now it's very hard to judge. Does it? It seems to not so much in the Premier League so far, but before then it seemed to have changed per opponent. It's not even per tournament, it's per opponent. Do you think what we've saw tonight is his true natural pace?
Yeah, I think if you saw him at home practicing, that is exactly how he would play all the time. And I think the rest of it is all when he's overthinking it or trying to do too much, and trying to think too much about what his opponent's doing. When he just focuses and just plays, that's when he seems to play at his best. And I think that's exactly what we saw tonight, was that's his natural game.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And so Dimmy progressed through to the semi-final, and then his opponent in that semi-final was a man who we was worried about probably over a month ago of how much more we'd see in the sport, but he's found a bit of form since he returned to Cardiff, and Derwin Price stopped the barrel of his World Cup winning partner, Johnny Clayton, in a den. Averages probably don't suggest it was a great game, but I thought this was very good, very easy on the eye, as Johnny and Derwin always seem to produce.
Yeah. Again, it's another game of just no antics, no messing about. Just get up and play a really good game, and it was just really close all the way through. I just felt like it was one of those games where it was enjoyable because of how competitive it was. It could have been a 70 average or a 120 average. It was somewhere in the middle, a sort of mid to late 90s, but which is still a really good standard. But you just think when it's that competitive, and every leg it seemed like they both were having opportunities. No one blew each other away at any point. And it just made it a really good watch. And yeah, I guess he's just getting over the line in the end, where I think he took a 3-1 lead possibly. But then Johnny fired 3 legs straight back, and you kind of thought, is he going to go on and take it now? But then I guess he just sort of reset and took the last 3 to go and win it.
There was, when I'm coming on, I seem to, or when I'm ready to talk about it on a Monday, I seem to watch games and look for moments, something that's going to happen, something that we're going to talk about. And for me, there's one moment in this game, and it's when Derwin Price is 5-4 up, Johnny Clayton's on 1-6-6, he's got 6 darts in hand, and you think, we're going to decider, advantage Clayton, his momentum than a change, as I would talk about in the Aspinall Dimmy one, as it always seems to be teed down into that last leg. And from 1-6-6, from 6 darts, he only leaves 60-6. He doesn't even leave himself a double. So crucial, and just probably sums up where that Clayton game is at the moment, that there is those inconsistencies that we didn't see in 2021.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think he's still for me, anytime he leaves anything from sort of between 80 and a double, you just fancy it's going every time. But those sort of setups, and there just seems to be a few wobbles where he doesn't quite hit the consistent scoring that we see from him most of the time, because he's not a big 180 hitter. He's not one of these people that blows people away with his scoring, but he's generally pretty solid, and you don't see a lot of bad visits from him. He'll tend to find one treble every visit, or maybe a 60, but then he'll follow it up with a decent score. But yeah, just when it mattered, like you say, 106 starts just isn't going to cut it at that point, and it just let Gezi back in, and he made him pay, really.
Right, Tommy, I will come to your question because I am intrigued as well to hear Tam's response on that question as well. But before I do, let's hear from Johnny Clayton following his defeat to Derwin Price. Just got a short clip from Johnny now.
It is what it is, isn't it? There's good players there. You have to win your game. You have to prove that you're good enough to win, and I'm not doing it at the moment. I was so busy, do you know what I mean? You haven't got much time to do anything, do you know what I mean? So just carry on as I am, It'll be what it'll be.
Right, before, as I said, we will move on to Tommy's question as well, because I do like that question. But just from Johnny there, seems a bit deflated is probably the right way to sum up that clip, and go over and listen to the full interview once we've done on the Four Leg Bar. But seems a bit of a deflated person for someone who's normally very upbeat. Talk to any of the players, he's someone you want to be around. He's always very positive. That seemed a bit deflated, Tam.
He did, yeah. And I think what he was sort of alluding to there is possibly a little bit that he hasn't got time to sort of take a moment away and reset, because every single weekend we've got another PDC event. Plus he's playing in the Premier League every night, which I kind of get, but I thought he played quite well tonight, and I know he didn't come out on the right side of it, but I thought he played all right, and I don't think there was anything to be massively worried about. You're going to lose a lot of first-round games in this Premier League with the format the way it is. Over a best of 11, you are going to lose a few, but he seemed a little bit down on himself there, and generally he just kind of gets on with it and doesn't seem to let anything really worry him. But yeah, a little bit possibly slightly concerning that.
The one positive for me is, I know we will talk about it when we look at preview next week's games. I think who he's got next week is a positive, just because of how he can dead up for that game different than he can other games.
Yeah,
I think that is probably a positive for Johnny, not in the sense of him going to win it, but just going back out there and seem to be enjoying darts. I think that's the right game for Johnny in regards to nothing's easy in this league.
Yeah,
whatsoever, as one of the results has shown tonight. But I think that is one that's doing it. So, just as I mentioned, we'll go to Tommy's question before we look at the other two quarterfinals. Not going to spend too long on it, but I'm sure they will on Monday. Around, do you like watching slow players? So I'll go first before we come to you, Tam. Personally, my thoughts on it, if it is your natural throw and that's how you play all the time, no issue whatsoever. I couldn't stop watching Adam Dorlas at the UK Open, considering there's so many players, and I've got to see the majority of the sort of 1 to 8 and the rest who qualified. Because of how he plays, and it was consistent, it was enjoyable, even though it was slower than your normal rat-tat-tat, A.J. Lewis, Darry Anderson sort of type player, Ricky Evans, those sorts. So for me personally, I don't mind the slower player as long as it's not a deliberate change of approach, because I think sometimes it has a bigger impact on you than it does the player you're playing against.
Yeah, and I think I'm kind of the same as you. I was going to use Gilding as the example, who went on and won the UK Open. He's very deliberate, but he's not. It's just his rhythm, and it's how he always plays. And I think when the throw's still smooth and it's still sort of, the darts always come out in the same rhythm, you're not expecting it to be faster or slower. Like you say, I think it's still enjoyable to watch, especially when they're firing in the scores and playing well. Whereas you get some people like Dimmy when he slows it down, like Mentor at times when he slows it down. Justin Pipe, who probably never enjoyable to watch, to be honest. That was too slow for my liking. But yeah, there's a few where when it's deliberate, it's painful to watch, because you know they're doing it on purpose and there's a reason for it. And it's frustrating rather than anything else, rather than just go and play your game and beat the guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're both in agreement on that. The only time I'll probably change is when two of the slower players that meet. Then it can be a bit
over
different.
a long format, and you go, "We're going to be here
Then
till
it can be
tomorrow."
difficult. Yeah, if
Yeah.
you got best of 19 in that format, then it can be a little bit more difficult to watch. But generally, anyway, moving back to tonight's action, and I think the storyline that many people predicted, which is very, very worrying for one man, but Michael Vandenberg beat Peter Wright 6-1. Before we talked about Peter and where his level of performance is at the moment, MVG, just would you sum this up as a professional job? Is that probably the right term?
Yeah, exactly what he needed to do. He didn't need to go out there and blow him away with a ridiculous performance. He just needs to go and be steady and be good on the outer ring, and he wasn't going to have any bother, and that's exactly what he did. He just made it look really easy, and Peter's struggling, and he's persisting with these darts that we've seen him use at the weekend and sort of use again now, but I don't know why. Can't get my head around why he's using them, because they just don't suit his throw for me. I mean, for one, they're too big to get three in a treble, which isn't helping him. And it's the angle they're going in at, it's making it difficult for him when he has to adjust. Like, he was down the board. I think he left 1-2-6 at one point. So he needed at least one treble 19. As soon as the first one went in, there's no chance of him taking the finish because he completely blocked it, and had no way of getting around it because of the way it went in the board. But yeah, obviously there must be something he likes about them. They must be working well at some point, but they're not working well up on the stage, and he's getting a little bit detached now from that top four, and it's got to be a worry.
I think my favourite with Peter Wright, one of my favourite players, and the fact he continues to change is irritating. Annoyingly entertaining is probably sometimes how I put it, because it's so frustrating, so annoying when you've got someone who you support and you want to see them do well. Then they change something, but then it becomes entertaining because they don't want to win something or predict that they're doing something. I guess now, though, when he's struggling to find that winning feeling with only one win in 7 Premier League nights, only one win in that time. Normally, what you'd say to someone is that they've either got to change the equipment in a normal player, not Peter Wright, a normal player. You've got to change your equipment, or there's something normally within your throw, something's not right if you've dropped off the amount of what Peter has. But because Peter's normal way of approaching it when he's winning is constantly changing, does he have to continue with that method now? Or is it, because you've mentioned it there, he's used the same dart, we agree or not agree on what Peter's equipment is and what he's using, because I'm with you on it. But I'm sure, obviously, Peter would disagree. There's the right equipment. Is he now thinking, because I'm in this sort of Premier League rut, I don't want to say, where he's in the world is still ridiculous. He's still one of the best players in the world, but he's still rut in the Premier League. Is it that he thinks, I need to stick because that's not normally what I do. So I need to change something, and changing something for Peter is not changing anything at all.
Yeah.
Is that the right way? Even if we're not this equipment.
Possibly that's what it is, and I think you maybe kind of touched on it there a little bit. Maybe he does think it's his throw, and it's not the darts he's using. So if he's going to get that right, he probably needs to stick with the same set of equipment so that he can tell whether he's getting it right in terms of the way they're going in the board and everything else before he then starts tinkering with darts again. But I just think these ones are just all wrong for him, and we've seen what he throws best with so many times, and it's sorry, excuse me, it's the straight barrel. It's something thinner barrel, straight barrel, and that's what he always throws well with. It's what he tends to go back with as his first sort of change as well. If he makes a change, he goes back to the gold ones. So I don't know. I think if he's trying to get something right with his throw, I think they're the ones to go back to and stick with while he sort of perfects it. But then again, he's won 2 world titles, so what are we to say on what he should and shouldn't be doing? But for me, it's just there's something not right at the moment.
Just one more on Peter before we move on to our last quarter final. Currently on 2 points, only one win in the Premier League. We're now at the midway stage. He's about to face Michael Vandenberg for a third time in the quarter final. this year who's, excusing one result, is in unbelievable form at the moment. Is Peter Wright's chances of making the playoffs already done, do you think, at this stage?
I wouldn't say gone, because we know how good he is. And if he wins 2 nights, all of a sudden he's right back in it, and he's probably puts himself pretty much back into a playoff spot at that point. But something's going to have to massively change, because at the moment, he doesn't look like winning 2 games, never mind 2 nights. But I think with the format and the way it is, he's not out of it at the moment. I think there's still a long, long way to go yet. He could quite easily, we've got another 9 weeks of action. He could win 3 of those nights, and he'll probably comfortably then make it, along with a couple of wins elsewhere as well.
Tam, just to stop you there, right, on that, just had a quick look. His next 3 opening games, obviously, can go on and win.
Yeah.
Michael Van Derwin, Derwin Price, and Michael Smith.
Oh, so nice and easy then.
That's why I stopped doing that. And I agree.
The
Premier League does that. He did it last year. Someone can have a terrible run and find a way. But is that...
It makes it more tricky. But then again, you're going to have to play him at some point during the night, probably. If he plays them first up and beats them before they've sort of got warm, and then he has to play one of the so-called lesser players after that, then it might work in his favour.
I'm only posting this and showing this one so we know he's alive.
Yeah.
Mr. Darwood, snake bite is Romeo, lads. Terrible record in this event. Lost the plot with these darts.
How many times do you reckon it's taken him to write that out before he's got it with no spelling mistakes and actual grammar there after the number of pints he's had?
Probably quite a few.
It's a good job we waffle for quite a while, and it's given him a chance to get it in there.
Giving him a chance to stay home. And tune in. Moving on then to the final quarter-final of the night, which looked very, very one-sided at one point, with Chris Dolby down 5-0 in front. Michael Smith fought back to 5-4, but it was Dolby who got over the line in this one. We've spoke about it. It seems to be a bit of ifs and buts in these quarterfinals. There's momentum to the switch very quickly, but it's another 6-4 win, and this time it's for Chris Dolby. And how big is that win, Cam?
Cov just texted me saying, up the autocorrect. Yeah, Dolby was really good in this. He was in bother for a long time, apparently, according to Gob as well, who clearly was concentrating really hard in the arena. As he felt that he was in bother as he went 3-0 up. But he played really well. He was really, really solid in this game. And I was worried for him for a moment, though, at 5-4, when he'd lost 4 on the bounce, and it looked like it may go back to 5 apiece. I think Smith just not leaving himself 2 darts to a double on that last one, just put himself under a little bit of pressure, and when it came to it, I mean, that 84 from Dolby was, I just didn't fancy it being anywhere but the centre of the ball that last dart. Yeah,
it was pretty good, considering the nerves he would have had at that point. If it had been at 5-0, it was obviously it's still impressive, but the pressure that's on him then, because if he goes to the final leg, whoever had the throw it was going to be, we're in time. We'll talk about Dolby a bit more.
But I think he'd have lost it. If it had gone back to 5-0 from 5-0, I think he'd have lost that last leg. So I think it was huge to hit it at that point. I think that was the only dart he was going to get at that stage.
We'll talk about Dolby a bit more when we move on to the semi-final. Just on Michael Smith, world champion. You know, that taught an awful lot. Grand Slam champion, obviously, as well. But now it seems to be, I know he's suffered with, I think it was a toll last week, played an awful lot of darts since being world champion, obviously with the World Series. Do you think, World Series in January, the Premier League starting, Masters, UK Open, you know, the guy seems to have done everything and been available for everything, as you tend to see with a newly crowned world champion. Yeah. Do you think it's just starting to take its toll a little bit on Michael?
He does look a little bit, I don't know if jaded's the right word, but probably a little bit jaded, just because he's just that first start's low a lot of the time, and until he got going in this game, and it probably wasn't until sort of 5-2 because he was lucky it wasn't 6-0. Like Dolby missed an absolute hatful of darts to win it 6-0. And I just think it even then took him another couple of legs before he really warmed into it. And I think it was that first leg at 5 to get to 5-3 was the one where he really looked like he was back at it, and he hit 3 straight 140s, and it was missed sort of either in the top of the treble 20 or just above it first start every time. And he just looks a different player then. But yeah, it probably is just a little bit jaded, a little bit of fatigue. Just it's been a lot, and it's not just what he's doing on the dartboard. He's obviously way more commitments than he's ever had. Just because of that, everyone wants to speak to him now. He's the first name that everyone wants to talk to at the moment, other than probably MVG. But it's going to take a bit out of you, and it's going to take a bit of getting used to. And I just think he'll be all right. I think he'll be fine, but I think he's just having a little dip in his form. But over 16 weeks, it's going to happen at some point. So
it's happened. It's happened with most. There's probably one player it hasn't happened with. Does he got a massive lead at the top? But generally, it happens with most. Moving on then to semi-final number 1, and potentially one of potentially game of the night. Both players averaged just over the 100 mark, and very good game played in. It's a very good pace with Dimmy and Derwin. Another 6-4, and this time it went the way of the Iceman, getting over the line against Dimmy. But then it's them moments looking for, and there was an awful moment for Premier League in that 6th leg of the I stopped counting camp of how many darts.
Right.
And it seemed to be a huge turning point, but not for the eventual winner. Because Dimmy took it and then took the next leg, and it seemed like Derwin Price's head had dropped. We know the Premier League isn't his favourite event, but then three legs on the spin, and it was top darts from Desi, and what a way to win it.
Yeah. I mean, it was that bit of magic to win it, but yeah, like you said, that leg you kind of thought was going to be the turning point. Like I said, we levelled the game up, and then Dimmy went and won the next leg, despite them both throwing a very good leg in that leg. I think they both went possibly. I think they both went 140, 180 to leave 41, both of them. And you kind of thought, like, the both firing them in here, and it was like I say, good pace. It was a really good game, and a good watch. But when Dimmy took that one as well, despite nearly messing it up, because I think he got 12, 17, double 6 to take out that 41 when they were both sat on it. After he'd faffed around, leaving double 6 for no apparent reason when he was the leg before, where he was miles ahead, and then he hit the 171 to leave double 6, and you thought, what are you doing there? That's just, as soon as you miss inside, you're struggling there. It's just giving yourself problems you didn't need to have. You're doing better off going for a different treble, and even if it's the single, just leaving yourself a single to a double. Or it was just a bit of a strange one for him to leave it, and then to leave it the next leg, you think, right, what's going on here? But he hit it first start, and you think he's going to go on here and just wrap this up a little bit. But really good from Price again, but basically exactly the same way as the game against Johnny went. He went 3-1 up, he went 4-3 down, and then he came back and won the last 3 legs. And like you say, that 156 to win it, after Dimmy's just missed the ball to level it up as well, was a bit of magic.
Yeah, it seemed that was obviously the 4th one so far the night of 6-4, but all of them could have easily done 5-5 at that point.
Yeah.
But one game that had no chance whatsoever of going anywhere near 10 legs was semi-final number 2, which, if someone's predicted this, I want the lower numbers for this weekend, because Chris Dolby 6, Michael Vandenberg 0. At this point, just to give a thought, if you've not watched the Premier League for the pro weights to this, Michael Vandenberg's on a 10-match winning run. He won 3 nights, and he won the first game, obviously, this night. So 10 matches on the spin in the Premier League. He's been favourite every night so far this year, I believe. The man has just been a machine. He's got a nice lead at the top of the table. Chris Dolby down into it in the relegation position, shall we say. I know there's not a relegation from it, but in them sort of bottom of the table with Peter Wright. And Derby wins 6-0. How? Why? What? What happened, Cam?
Yeah. I mean, realistically, Dolby could have been in the final, having only played 12 legs tonight after his first game as well. And yes, Dolby's played well. Van Gerwen's averaged 100 and got 3 darts at double in the match, which is utterly just nonsense. But Dolby just never let him in. He never gave him a chance. He was just so consistent in the scoring. His doubling was magic as well. I think he's about 6 out of 10 or 6 out of 9, something. He was right up there, well above, sort of way above 50% anyway on the doubling as well. And yeah, just never ever gave him a chance. Yeah, like you say, anyone who had this, absolutely, my DMs are open as well for the lottery numbers. I'll take them, because I think this was not had any outsiders this big going at Cheltenham this week, but I think you could get about 150 to 1 on Dolby winning 6-0 before this game. So,
but yeah, no whitewashes so far in the Premier League. Michael Van Der winning completely through control of the Premier League table. Looked like he was going to go on and pick another nice. However, what we see from top teams and top individuals, the Tan lose 6-7-0. It does happen, but what happens is they tend to bounce back. So Michael Van Der, I'm sure, will be back with it next week. But I don't really want to talk about Michael.
If only it was the old format and it was to 7, because you would have got it for that.
Don't want to talk about Michael really about this time, but about Dolby, and we'll move on to the final as well, talking about Dolby. But a lot of question marks about Chris, about the Premier League. I know we had the interview a few weeks back with Matt Porter about saying Luke Humphries not being ready. Question marks about, actually, was Dolby ready? He's answered those a little tonight for me, because like you said, that should have been 12-0 going into the final. And even someone of the quality of MVG has not been able to produce that. So it probably then just shut up a few haters around Chris Dolby with the manner of performance tonight.
Yeah, no, I think he kind of did that week 1 anyway by going and winning it. But then he then has had a bit of a dip. He's not had the best of runs since then. But yeah, tonight was impressive. And he if you go out there and beat Michael Van Gerwen 6-0, I don't care if you never win another point all the rest of the season. You belong up on that stage.
To be honest, personally, I think tonight's feat is better than night 1. I think night 1, you are down into night 1 with momentum after winning the Masters. You're still on that high. You've not really had time to digest the information that you're in the Premier League, because you only had,
because it was so close to it as well. Yeah,
I actually think the fact that he hasn't won a game since that, and he's been able to produce against world number 1 and world number 2, 6-4 win, which should have been, if not 6-0,
should have been 6-0.
Yeah, you know, it should have been a battering. To then beat MVG 6-0, which will always be in the records that MVG is whitewashed by Dolby.
Yeah,
he's then not Newcastle coming up next week. I think this was perfect for Dolby. Before down into the final, yes, it didn't go his way, but it was incredible stuff by Desi. For people who don't know, Derwin Price went on and won 6-4.
Got a little bit ahead of yourself.
I actually think that tonight's a better night for Chris than night 1 because of those reasons.
Yeah, the performances were incredible. What he's done tonight to handle, like you say, the best 2 players in the world in the way that he has. He's proved that he deserves to be up there, and like you say, it's a big chance next week, but a lot of pressure next week as well. And we'll see how he handles that as well. I mean, I know he's done it before, but not the same way as a contender. It's not the same as turning up as a fully fledged Premier League player in your hometown. But I think it was the week he needed before that. Because if he was going into it having not won, like you say, since week 1, that's a real worry. But I think this will help.
On to then the final. It wasn't to be. You said beat the top 2. This is probably then the 3rd best player in the world in Desi. Wasn't able to do the job here, but before we even get onto the results, ended Dame his semi-final with a 1-5-6. The first leg, he doesn't take out a ton plus check out. We'll let him off. Second leg, he wins, he takes out a 1-10. The third leg, he wins, he takes out a 1-3-8. Obviously, I'm not saying Des is returning to the level we've seen him become world champion, but on a night, this for me is only bettered by his 2-9 dart tonight. From a Premier League night, I think it's only bettered by that. I think tonight as a whole was a fantastic evening for Desi. Yes, then he's already won one this year. This is second. I think it was a great night, and what a way to seal the victory over Dolby, who was just flying at the time.
Yeah, like you say, it was really, really impressive, and it's not his favourite tournament. It's not one that he's historically done particularly well in. And like I said, this is probably as good as I've seen him play. It was 3 6-4s, but 3 really tough 6-4s as well. But he's kind of just looking like the Gezi that we all know that he is, in that he wins those tough matches and he produces the big shots when it matters. Yeah, I just think I was really impressed by him tonight. He looks like he's got a bit of his swagger back. He looks a bit like he's just got a bit of confidence. He looks happy. Like, he actually looks like he's enjoying being up there and playing, which is the biggest thing that we all want to see from him, because we all want him around for a long time. As much as, like, he gets a lot of stick from fans and whatever, but the guy's class, and we all want to see him up there and firing, because, like you say, Dolby's beat the 3 best players in the world tonight, and I genuinely do think they are the best 3, and I don't. Peter Wright maybe at his best, maybe has an argument for it, but right now these 3 are the best that are about, and I just think he looks in a good place. His interview afterwards was great. He actually said the right sort of things about the crowd as well tonight, in that they have been on his side a little bit more. He's not had any stick from them. He didn't do anything to rile them up tonight, so they should be on his side again next week, unless he plays Dolby, obviously, and then he'll get absolute pelters. But that's just to be expected when you go into someone's hometown.
People say the Premier League's predicted, but who would have thought after week 7 the fans would be booing Peter Wright and cheering Darwin Price? Of course, it's not predictable. We've had something different. No one would have told that.
No, not
maybe
at one
last
point.
Week or the week before, but not now.
Yeah,
not
the only way that anyone was calling that was if week 7 was Cardiff. Other than that, you're not absolutely, we're not shouting that was going to be the case. But it's good to see, because he played mint tonight, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm happy seeing him back playing well.
He's definitely had one too many. I had a 14 darter last night. That would have won 82% of the leads tonight. I am Premier League. Also, Bob, you had a 55 average on Sunday, which you would have lost 6-0 to the lowest ever Premier League average. So, you win
exactly. Like, just to put his 55 average into context as well, I averaged 66.8 last week in my league. So if I'm averaging over 10 points more than you really need to have a look at your game before you start calling that you're a Premier League standard.
On that note, we will return to the professionals, and we've got a clip from the one and only Darwin Price.
Yeah, but I mean, three nights on the bounce, he can go and lose 3 nights on the bounce. It's 10 nights to go. It doesn't mean he's going to top the league. If he does, it doesn't make no difference. That's all I want to do, is make sure I'm in the top 4. But it's always good to keep tabs on people and hold Michael back. And I think losing tonight would have hurt him. But like I said in a few interviews, losing 6-0 against anybody. I know Chris is a good player and a fantastic bloke, but for Michael to lose 6-0, that's going to hurt him next week, and he's going to want to, put a performance in and get back on that horse and try and win next week. But he'd be under a little bit more pressure than what he was this week. But yeah, it's nice to have a crowd behind me and just being able to play with that freedom. And it's tough, even just going on pro tours and playing behind closed doors where there's no distractions. It's tough to beat every single player, for not just the boys in the Premier League, but right down to 1 to 8 in the world. So just coming out here and playing in Premier League when the crowd's against you is really tough. So I'm just thankful the last 5-6 weeks after Cardiff, they've been good to me.
He's Darwin Price enjoying his daughter then, Tam?
I think he might be. It's good, isn't it? It's good to see, and we all give him a bit of stick because he does say the wrong things at times, and he can be a bit reactionary, a bit miserable. But it's good to see him enjoying it, and that's what we want to see. We want to see him happy and around for a long time. So I think I enjoy from him tonight.
Yeah, a bit of there about his faults of just being in that top four. We know the Premier League hasn't been his favourite tournament for different reasons. However, it seems like this year he's focused on making sure that he's in that finals night. And he's put himself in prime position, 3 finals, 2 wins. Obviously, what MVG has done has set him apart. However, normally we've had a Premier League that's a bit tighter, and with that, Desi would be in prime position to be top. But it's a great start after 7 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely it is, and he's exactly where I want to be. If you can be up in that fight for it, in the top 4 for as long as you can, you don't want to be chasing it, having to come into the last couple of weeks thinking, right, I've got to go and win both these weeks to get in. You want to be comfortable and thinking, I just need 1 win and that'll get me in, or I've already done it. And if he keeps playing like he is, like, he's not going to have any concerns around that. I think he'll be in there. And yeah, we know that Michael likes to go and win the league. He makes a big point of liking to be top of the league, but it really doesn't matter. All you got to do is just get yourself in that top 4.
£10,000 each week matters. That's what matters.
Yeah. Well, that's it. There's less than an advantage to actually winning the overall league now than there used to be. In that, obviously, you weren't getting a prize every week for winning the night as well. So that extra 25 grand for winning the league was always a nice little bonus. But if you can win a few weeks and finish second, does it really matter now?
Yeah, well, we've seen before down into this week that Chris Dolby was in 7th place, 3 positions above position where he was positioned. There was 3 players above him who were obviously better in the lead, but actually financial not as good because Dolby had the extra 10k from winning the first night, and the other 3 just picked up semi-finals and finals. So, yeah, if you're not in that Premier League, it's winning the nights. However, we move on to previewing next week. Still have a bit of a familiar feel to it, this one, Cam. I will just run down the league table in positions, and then we'll dive on to our quarterfinals and let your predictions into the chat as well. And I'll let a few of them appearing on the screen. Let's see how confident Dob is as well at his predictions while he's not on air. So, in first position is Michael Van Derwin. Then it's Derwin Price, Michael Smith, and Nathan Aspinall who make up the top 4. 5th place is Dimitri Vandenberg. 6th is now Chris Dolby. Johnny Clayton moves into 7th. And Peter Wright is at the bottom of the table with just 2 points. Being at the bottom of the table means on week 8 that you play the person in number 1 spot. And Peter Wright, MVG, will open up in Newcastle. Your thoughts on that one for next week? Any difference on what you've seen this week?
I'd like to say it'll be more competitive, but I really don't think it will. It always makes it tough when it's repeat or revenge. Are we gonna see something different? Are we gonna see the same again? But I can't come up with anything that makes me think that Peter Wright's in any position to beat Marco Van Gerwen at the moment. And I'm gonna be generous to him. I'm gonna give him an extra leg. I'm gonna give him 6-2 this time rather than 6-1. But I can't see him winning.
So far, you are more generous than anyone in the chat room. We got 6-0.
I'm a nice guy. What can I say?
6-1. Another 6-1. Another 6-1. They keep coming. I love Peter Wright. So I'm going to be even nicer. Give him 3 lads. This is horrible to say it like that as well.
It's so patronising. Tommy's gone even nicer. Tommy's gone 6-4.
Tommy's been on what Dobbs been on by the lots of things.
I think he has. If anyone predicts Peter Wright, we're going to have to kick him out straight away. I think it's just.
And by the lots of what Dobbs been on, it was a nice blackcurrant drink or mixed fruits. Here we are. He's in. MVP sits.
Oh, he's gone all at once as well. He's gone.
I'll ignore the rest for now. I'll come back to him, but I'll ignore the rest for now as we are just looking at MG and Peter Wright. I'm going to go 6-3. I think that's a couple more. Then we have repeat versus revenge once more. It's Dimmy versus Nathan Aspinall. This one, Dimmy take the winner then, or do you think Asp will get his revenge?
I'm going revenge on this one. I think we'll see Asp start faster than he did tonight. Possibly see him be the one go a couple in front early on this time round. And if he does, then there's probably a little bit less pressure on those big shots where we know he's playing well enough to hit the trebles and hit the setups to get to the doubles. I think if he's a little bit more relaxed, there's slightly less pressure on him, he takes them, and I think he wins 6-3.
I'm with Matthew. I agree on the 6-3 scoreline, but I think it's Dimmy who gets over the line. And then I'm just very impressed with the pace that Dimmy's playing on at the minute. And I think his game is in a better position than what Nathan's is, playing at this pace. And I do fancy Dimmy to get over the line.
Oh, he's not even done them in order.
Yeah, I know, that's annoying. Asp 6-3 over Dim from Dob.
He just said he doesn't trust himself to send 4 different messages, which is fair enough.
That's the standard day today, I think.
I was going to say, I've just seen the second message he sent to me after the autocorrect one, and it's not broadcastable, so.
As 6-3, Dimmy 6-3, As 6-4, very much split, a bit different to the first game where we only had one person.
Yeah.
Right. We then have Dame number 3. Gonna keep saying it, repeat revenge. Will it be Derwin Price gets another win? Or will it be the slightly deflated Johnny Clayton?
I think this one's repeat. The risk of starting a pattern here, but yeah, I think this one's repeat. I think I like what I saw from Gezi tonight. I don't think he'll blow him away. I think it'll be close. I think it might actually be slightly closer. I think we see it go to a deciding leg this time round. But I think when it matters, Gezi will hit the shot he needs and he wins 6-5.
Darby's done. Clayton sits 4. We've got Price sits 4. Clayton sits 4. It is very split again. Very close game, which I would expect. I'm gonna go last leg, but I'm gonna go in the way of Clayton.
Oh,
I think Clayton will get revenge. I can see him getting over the line, and then Desi Price. And then we move on to Let's Get Ready to Rumble.
Yeah.
Returning to Newcastle. Well, first time playing at Newcastle because he didn't have that water on last time. But I'll be returning to Newcastle after a very, very impressive night. And then Michael Smith. Can he do the job like he did tonight? Or does Bully Boy that one over on him?
I think this one's revenge. I think that playing in Newcastle is going to be a bit much for Dolby. I think when it comes down to it, we won't see him be as clinical as we did tonight. I think Smith wins this quite comfortably. I think he wins it 6-1.
That is not a nice homecoming, Tam. That is not a nice.
No, it's not. It's not. But it's tough in front of the crowd. He's gonna have everyone on his side, and I think he'll feel under a lot of pressure. And I think when it comes down to it, we'll see him just struggle a little bit.
6-3 seems to be the go-to scoreline. Keep them in either Dolby or Smith. The one thing for me in this, I'm very interested to see how the fans react to Michael Smith. Normally with a home favourite, you get someone being booed. However, we've got our world champion taking on a home favourite in the world champion's home country, but in his opponent's home city. It's a weird scenario.
I just don't think Bully will care.
I'm sitting on the fence a little. Right now, I am thinking I'm not sure when the Smith step-up's going to come. I do believe it's just a dip.
Yeah.
I tell them that dip's going to last. Right now, I think it will last long enough that Chris Dolby gets over the line. So I think Dolby sits 4. I think it'll be the same scoreline as tonight. Played out slightly different. And I think Dolby wins it 6-4. So then your finalist and everyone in the chat room, your finalist and your winner. Where's it coming from, mate?
So it's a bit where I go. Who did I pick again?
You've done for Peter Wright, then you've done. No, I'm joking. You went for MVG, Nathan Aspinall, Derwin Price, and Michael Smith. That's very good memory for me. That
it is. That's very, very impressive from you there.
I don't know mine, but I know yours.
Yeah, yeah. He's just desperately trying to work yours out now.
No,
I think Nathan makes the final, and Gezi makes the final, and then out of them two, oh, that's a scrap, innit? That's a proper scrap. That one. Back-to-back nights for Gezi.
And Matthew, yes, please. We need Anton Deck. We need Anton Deck there next week. Getting Dolby on stage. I think I agree that we have a Welshman winning it next week.
Ooh. I don't like sounding so shocked because you did pick one to go through.
Yeah, but as I did pick Clayton to beat Derwin Price, Johnny Clayton is my winner. Oh, Tommy, we're in agreement. I would be happy about that. My only concern is you've picked Peter Wright to beat MVG, so now I'm then a bit concerned about where my picks down here. I think Johnny Clayton beats MVG in the final. I think it's a win for Johnny Clayton at the midway stage.
We see a less dejected Ferrell next week.
Yeah. The thing it's different. It's when they have something on that weekend. I know predominantly they do at the Minute Players Championship Euro Tours.
Yeah.
I just think the fact that this one, a weekend behind closed doors, with Johnny just focused on that, and it being Monday.
Sunday, isn't it? Yeah.
Gives him a little break now before then into action on Sunday. I think he'll be better positioned than I can see him going on and winning it. Just a few then for the noise.
Why are we Sunday, Monday this week?
I think they moved it so Dob to do the stream on Monday. The PDC.
Is really that literally it though? Just we're all on gob time now.
Really nice like that. Johnny Clayton sits for against Aspinall. Price to win it. Tam Matthews with you having Price to win it. MVG sits 4 over Clayton.
Seems like Matthews a smart man.
Desi beats MVG sits 5 in the final. I think we're in for a very, very good night then next week. I was impressed with generally how tonight went. And I think next week we'll follow up and will be very similar. And it'll be interesting to see where we are in the Premier League after the halfway stage. So, Tam, thank you very much for joining me this evening. Coming up on Online Darts, as we mentioned, on Sunday, we are back with the Pro Tour all day, where I believe Phil will be hosting. On Monday, it is Phil and Dob who are with you for a mammoth Monday, as they will have Pro Tour. They will then have Live Lounge on Monday night. So you will see the pair of them, but you won't be seeing me on Monday night as I've got there. So they will be joined by a third person, but you've got live action on Sunday and Monday with the Pro Tour updates. And then you've got the Monday night Live Lounge. We are back next week.
Are you playing Monday night?
Fallout Bar. Not playing Monday night, no. Family commitment.
Fair enough.
Not a wedding, before anyone asks the question.
Loves a Monday wedding, does boys?
Not a wedding.
There's one thing that he loves, it's a Monday wedding.
The last person who had one of them wasn't me. So thank you very much for everyone who's tuned in tonight at 12:15. But we are getting to
early finish this for us, to be fair.
Yeah, it is. It's not too bad. We are getting to the midway stage. I am sure we are going to be joined next Thursday by. Oh no, I'm about to say next Thursday by Dob, but I know Dob's in Blackpool. Could be joined by anyone next Thursday, but we will be bringing you the Fallout Bar.
Yeah, it'll probably be me. I'll be.
Yeah, it will probably be you, Tam. It will be you and one other. I'm sure of that. Dob's going to be in Pop World in a worse state than he's probably in right now. that's what's going to happen.
Definitely in a worse state. Once he reaches Poplar, I mean, he may be on his way there now. He may be sat there now watching us.
If we've made the bid screen in Pop World at any time, that is now going to be my claim to fame.
Yeah,
and I'm sure it will be yours. Anyway, we digress and we can talk about these all night. Well, thanks very much for joining us all, and we will see you then on Sunday. Cheers, Cam.